Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to make sure that you can hear us correctly and we can hear you. If someone can say something, that'd be great. Maybe Brendan, if you can say hi.
I see thumbs up in the chats. You're good.
Okay, great.
Hi.
Yeah, we can hear
Okay,
Ross.
thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, and let's get started here. 1 second here, sorry for the wait. Welcome to building community in large class sizes. Before we get started, I just wanted to acknowledge the land that we are on, which is in the Syilx Okanagan land, the people of the land of the Syilx Okanagan people. We're very thankful to work and play in this beautiful land and feel privileged. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And also, it's important to know who is facilitating and who you are, who we are. And so in this case, I have a colleague, Robin. Robin will introduce herself, but she's basically going to be co-presenting with me. So go ahead, Robin. Can you say hi? Maybe.
I don't know if the online people can see the people in the room or just Ross.
Yep.
They can? Okay, good. Perfect.
Can you see Robin okay?
I don't know where the camera is, but
Yep.
okay. I'm Robin. I'm an associate professor of teaching in biology, and I pretty much have spent my whole career teaching large classes, so I often get asked to do stuff like this. There you go.
Great. My name is Ross, and I'm an instructional designer for technology mediated learning for the Center for Teaching and Learning. And I've got some colleagues in the room, actually. I've got Riley, who's monitoring the chat. So thank you for doing that, Riley. I've got Electra, who is here giving support, which is great. Thank you, Electra. We also have Barbara as well. And Barbara is my colleague as well. So actually, that's the next slide, actually, is the Center for Teaching and Learning. It's a bit of who we are, where we are, and why we exist. And we're doing this for each of the sessions that we're doing today. So in terms of who we are, we've introduced some of my colleagues here, but basically we are a group of passionate people that have a passion for learning and teaching, and very relationship based. So it's not like it's like we work with you as faculty, as partners, and together we do some great things. So within the Center for Teaching and Learning, we do have, two kind of subgroups of the learning technology team and also the educational consultants. And the learning technology team just did a session, the first one about campus basics. So if you do have questions about that, that's actually where you would, contact. Then we have in the educational consultant side, they're all specialists in different areas. For example, Electra is a specialist in accessibility and inclusion. And so if you had questions about that as a faculty member, you needed to work alongside someone with that, then Electra would be the person, etc. So it's a small team, mighty team. But again, we're here so that we can create really positive, high quality teaching and learning environments together. So where we are, in this case, we are at the admin building actually, and there is an unlocked door now. There is an unlocked door just right across from the bookstore, and so that's actually where you would find us. And I've already talked about why we exist. So come on down and say hi. We welcome everyone, and we'll probably have some high chews left from from the session, and it'll be good. And I know we're talking about building a community, and so we just and there are some people in the room here too, by the way, some participants. We've got five, sorry, Kitty, and then we've got how many people online, Riley?
7.
So anyway, that's, I just wanted to acknowledge that we were mixed today, but we're gonna be a building community. And so I'm gonna actually stop sharing right now, or just wanted to actually give an opportunity for folks online to say who they are. But
Actually,
just in a bit
let's
of
just-
text. Pardon me?
Let's save that because we're gonna talk to everybody about what big classes are in just a minute, so they can
Okay.
do that at the same time.
All right,
And that gives space for Barbara to talk about her resource before we move out of the CTL space.
all right, sounds
Is
good.
that the segue?
That's the thing.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, now we're going to go to Barbara to talk about this great resource. So, go
Ah.
ahead.
Welcome, everybody. Just hot off the press. For those of you that are here in person, there's a handout called Considerations for Teaching Large Classes. This will be emailed as well to everybody that registers, so no fear, those of you that are participating online. It will be also added to our website as soon as we're able. Again, it's just hot off the press. I just wanted to say two things about it. Maybe 3, well, 2, it's comprehensive. I don't want it to be overwhelming. It's organized by theme. So the idea is that if you're interested in community, then you know, and thinking about getting to know your students, you go to that section, right? If you're thinking about engagement or you're thinking about testing, tests and exams, you go to that section and you review that. And I also wanted to, there's a note of appreciation for all the faculty members who had our experience, which is Katie and Robin, that contributed to kind of the crowdsourcing of making this document reflect the values and the approaches reflected on this campus. So this is not the final version. So if you have input or if something is missing, then please reach out to me.
Great, thank you very much, Barbara. Just 1 second here. I realized I forgot one slide, and we do have a newsletter that is coming out 5 times per year in very strategic ways or strategic timing. There is a QR code, so I encourage you to take a picture of that with your phone and sign up right away. And that's one of the ways we communicate. All right, Robin, go ahead.
Okay, so the plan for today is up on the screen. We are gonna have a talk about what large classes look like and what they mean, because that number is different for different people. We're gonna try and really focus on discussion. We've heard back and forth. We kind of want to avoid using breakout rooms, but that means that we all kind of have to agree to sort of speak up and not be shy. There's a lot of very experienced people in this room, so hopefully that will help. And online, I know lots of people and lots of names that are here, which is great. We hope that you will come away with something useful. I feel like there's a lot of people that know more than me about large classes here, even though I've done a lot of it. So hopefully we'll all come away with new ideas and sort of feel a little bit more confident for the onslaught that is about to begin in less than a week. So that's sort of the plan for today. So this is my question. And so I would love to hear from every single person about sort of who you are, maybe what you teach, and what's that number for you? Where do you hit big in your head? And it doesn't matter if it's the same as anybody else's, because again, every course is different. If it's okay with the online people, I would love to start with you, any of you. I can't see everybody at once, so I'm gonna, oh dear, everybody comes. I'm gonna pick Rob because I've been seeing you the whole time, sorry, as a person to start. And then you can pick who you'd like to go next. And once we get through the online people, we will come back to the in-person people and do the same thing.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm Rob Freeberg. I've been teaching as a lecturer for about 3 years, and now and before that I was a sessional for about 7 years before that while I was working on my PhD in Kelowna. I teach in the East department, and I guess my class sizes kind of range from 25 to 300, although the enrollment's sort of been coming down the last year or two. So probably the larger classes are about 150, 140. And so I teach EASC 101, which is sort of a big introductory environmental science class. Sustainability 100, which is similar, and a catastrophic Earth class, which usually caps out around 120 or so students.
Okay. Do all of those feel big to you? Like, is there any that you're like, no, this is a small class, I'm good?
I mean, they don't feel as big as they used to, but
Fair.
my experience has been that sometimes in the, like, for example, even in the small classes, it kind of depends on the class. And that one of the questions that I have during the seminar is just, establishing an early culture of participation, because I find that small classes sometimes too can be difficult to get participation.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Your choice. Who goes next?
Kathy?
I'm not sure if there's a few Kathys in the last session. There were 2 Kathys, so it's a popular name. It was a popular name in when I was young. So, anyways, thanks, Rob. Rob was in the earlier session with me. So, I have been teaching for about 25 years at Okanagan College, actually, and I've just transitioned over to UBC just to teach a couple courses in the Faculty of Management. So my experience is actually working with what I would call small classes, which would be about 23 to 40. And generally, I would think a larger class is over 40. But I think what distinguishes it the most is the actual classroom context itself. So when I took a look at the classroom that I would be teaching in, and it's much like a lecture hall, and the seats are within, sort of not so movable. So I would say a small class would be one where the tables are movable, the chairs are movable, things like that. So it'd be more like a workshop. So.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. The classroom you're in certainly defines what you feel like you can do with it. And we have very little control over that. Who would you like to go next?
Oh, geez, let me see. I guess Kim was in the class before too. Hi, Kim.
Hi. Well, Kathy, I'm similar to you. It's my first semester at UBC, and I've had a warm welcome, but my experience has all been at a college, community college, with small classes, same. And I love small classes, and I'm way more comfortable doing in-person teaching. And this time I'm going to be in classes with 200 plus, and they're both online. So
that's a big transition.
A big transition. So I feel like I feel strong in facilitating and engaging, but I am kind of going, this is going to be a learning curve. So I'm just looking for some good tips.
Okay. Who would you like to go next?
I don't even have, I wanted to see the whole thing. I don't have you open. Hold on.
I can pick one if that's easier.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm all set up here. So I've kind of got the only.
Alex, you're the next one I can see.
Sure. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name's Alex Lukey. I'm teaching in the nursing program right now. I'm a PhD candidate actually at UBC Vancouver, but pretty highly connected to Kelowna here. I did my undergrad in nursing here, and then I'm doing a PhD in public health at UBC Vancouver. I've been teaching in the undergraduate nursing program, what used to be their stats class and is now more generally health research, but over 200 people in that class and online as well. So it's my third time teaching it. It's been a really great class, but definitely echoing the, looking for tips on engagement and just always wanting to do better in terms of creating community in that class. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Nice to see everyone.
Who would you like to go next?
Let's see who hasn't gone. Ross, you're a facilitator, aren't you? Did Brendan go? Brendan D'Souza?
No, I can go.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Brendan.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Brendan D'Souza. I'm a lecturer in the biology department. I've been there for the last 10 years, actually, which is a long time now for me. I have taught quite large classes when I was teaching first year biology. I currently teach, the largest class I teach currently is the genetics class, the second year class. And we have generally more than 100 students. I think the safe number for me is, I think maybe Kathy's pointed out, is like around 40. That to me is a small class, and I'm happy with that because I feel there's more students are a lot more interactive then, and they're less kind of shy or scared to speak up. The issue that I've found with large classes is just, again, also dependent upon the structure of the classroom, that interaction context is not there. They're a lot more shyer or reluctant to speak up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, friend Brendan, fellow office hallway mates. Who would you like to go next? I think we have many left online. Loic, I think you're the only one left.
I think Loic maybe. Yeah.
Okay, if I'm last, good morning, everyone. I'm Loic Markley. I'm an associate professor in engineering. And over this last year, I'm also now the associate director for undergraduate students. So I work a lot with instructors on providing best practices and tips. So this is very interesting to me because over the last few years, our engineering lecture sessions have really swollen. Now most of them are over 200 students, and we have some sections which push up to 340 or 360 students. So a lot of challenges that instructors have expressed to me are in terms of engagement with students, especially in teaching in COM 201, having students at the back of the class being able to hear and engage. As well, things like the logistics of administering, for example, biweekly quizzes and just the time taken and the resources in terms of TAs necessary to distribute papers and collect. So these are some of the challenges that I've heard from instructors. Yeah. Personally, I teach courses from 20 students up to 200 students. I would define a large class as anything probably above 80 students, where I start to feel a little bit more disengaged with that back row. So yeah, very excited to hear from what the knowledge in this room and some tips you have.
Okay, awesome. Okay, that's our online people. Is there a brave volunteer in the room that wants to go first? I can call.
I don't mind going first.
Katie.
My name is Katie Kyle. I'm a lecturer in human geography. And I teach courses across all year. As well as in person and online. And so I typically, I'd say the 100 mark and up. And the reason I say that is that we don't really have much between the 40 and the 100 mark. So that partly because of our TA allotment policies, things like that. So typically, and like this coming year, I have 5 sections of Introduction to Human Geography. And I'll probably have 100 to 150 in each one of those.
Okay, so
not the same semester. So
big is when you get to have TAs. Is that sort of?
It's just well, with something I'm hoping to get some guidance on today is the massive TA cuts we've experienced.
I don't know if I can guide on how to deal with massive TA cuts, but we'll do our best.
I'm looking at having to totally change my assessments for a course I've been teaching for 10 years.
Yeah, fair.
By next week. So really hoping for some input on that.
Okay. Okay, Electra, you're not currently teaching, but you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Electra. I'm the Educational Consultant for Inclusion in the Center for Teaching and Learning. I'm a physicist by training, and when I used to teach, I was teaching either seminar style classes in physics up to 30 students, or labs also up to 30 students. Too many sections though, so a lot of names to learn. I was comfortable with up to 80 students, 100, 120. I understood you need to change your teaching practice. I was once assigned to teach a 250 class, which I didn't do. I changed jobs because stuff happens in life. But I guess my question though for today is what really changes whether you have, say, 200 or 300 students in the classroom?
It's a good question.
Yes, I just wanna
It's a good
hit about
question.
that.
One specific metric I will share, but go ahead.
All right.
Okay, Ross, you've already introduced yourself. Barbara, do you want to say more?
Sort of, I don't know if I really introduced myself, but Barbara Comush, educational consultant for curriculum and program development, maybe is my new title. My background is teaching academic writing and Spanish. So not large classes, definitely more comfortable with around 25 cap at writing graphs and
Yeah,
giving
okay.
feedback.
Yeah. Go ahead.
My name is Mustafa Mohammed. I'm lecturer in computer science. So my class size usually around 100, so it can go up to 150, but I heard like, we might have to merge sections, so.
So that might be double.
Exactly, Robin,
Yeah.
correct. So,
Yeah.
but I don't online also for over 200 students, so
Mhm.
private settings.
Okay,
So, yeah.
okay. Okay. Neil, you're up.
I usually teach 3 different courses. 2 of them are 40 to 50 students, and one of them is minimum 250. So my course size distribution is binary.
So you have
Small is 40.
40 is
big
small and
is 300.
okay, fair enough. Steve McNeil, chemistry, if you don't.
Steve
know him.
McNeil chemistry.
Yes.
My name's Spectrum, and I'm a assistant professor teaching. Actually, I started as a sessional lecturer, and at that time I got a big class. The biggest one could go to 180.
Okay.
And without any experience.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It was very hard from
Yeah.
the beginning. But because I taught most of like the first year.
Yeah.
So large class, and now I teach more like third year, fourth year, occasionally second year. So class size down, but some course you can get 90 students.
Mhm.
Does
that feel big?
Actually, it's a different kind of feeling. The
Yeah.
big, I feel classroom big.
Yeah.
Because some reason, I don't know what's the reason, I really want to find out, and I want to find out how to communicate with that kind of style, because I have 19 students. That's what I experienced, but from the beginning, the first class is just 40-ish students came.
Oh,
The
okay.
first day to the end, and that's 90 students, and the classroom assigned a kind of like 120.
Yeah, it's hard when the class size and the room size don't match. That makes it feel very,
Yeah.
it's very complicated.
The thing is, only 40 students from beginning the first day.
Yeah. Interesting.
I feel,
Yeah.
for me, I feel the largest classroom
Yeah.
way too large, because the actual students is not that much. And then I feel frustrated. I use
Yeah.
a lot of way, try to the students come and the community and then know them, but it's
Yeah.
too hard.
Yeah.
If you cannot see them.
Yeah, for
know
sure.
what to do.
For sure. Go ahead.
I'm Umar Turaki. I'm a lecturer at the Department of Creative Studies. I teach creative writing. Typically, so I'm teaching. So coming into this year, like our smallest classes, which are 15 cap, all had their caps raised to 20.
Mhm.
And these are classes I've taught before, and I'm very, very comfortable with that. But I'm surprised by how much different 15 and 20 is, and sort of
In a writing course, yeah.
in a writing course, and how it changes everything, So suddenly
Yeah.
things are a lot more complicated for me than
Yeah.
I expected. I have 2 bigger classes. One is a 50 student cap, which is quite big for me, and then I have a 90 class.
Wow.
Which is huge.
That's massive for creative writing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So hoping to get tips around just engagement.
Yeah.
And getting students to participate.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
interested in.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Riley, did you want to say anything?
Hello, I'm Riley. I work in Center for Teaching and Learning. My background's in chemistry. I used to teach chemistry. And I think a large classroom is any physical space where I can't see the back of the room.
Okay.
So it is your eyesight. It's really good. So pretty big. Yeah, pretty big.
Okay. So the biggest class I have ever managed is 1,200, 1,300. And yes, that is big. Thankfully, that was not all in the same classroom because neither UBC campus has a classroom that big, but University of Toronto does. So people do attempt to teach those types of classes. But somebody told me when I went to a seminar like this many years ago about teaching large classes that the number where you go from small to big is 2, because that's the point at which you cannot individualize the instruction, right? At that point, you are trying to manage the needs of multiple students at once. And so there is no magic number of like where you go from small to big, because 90 for a writing intensive course is astronomically high. But if I were to teach a 90 course, it would feel small because of the way that I can assess and the things I have to do. So first I want to validate whatever you feel is big is true. That's big. Like it doesn't matter what the number is, because it certainly changes what you can do. I believe very strongly that you can do almost everything in a large class that you can do in a small class, but the way that you do it is going to change, because the number one most important takeaway from any workshop I give is that you should not die under the load. If you go down because of the work that you have to do to keep the class running and it destroys you, then it's not a good plan. Like it's not going to work, right? And so you have to think about how you can not die under the load, because we matter a lot of this. Yeah.
So it's a related question actually. So you said what you can do in a small class, you can do in a larger class.
Yeah.
So for example, activity like this one, introduction, how can you do it for a larger class?
I would do it differently. I wouldn't expect everybody to speak. If I was doing it in a large class, we would probably break out into small groups and have people work with each other. And then I would ask for volunteers to come up and to sort of throw numbers in a different way. To be honest, the large class session I went to had 100 people in it. So it was a large class. So you can certainly break down the space by breaking down the room. And that's one of the strategies we're going to suggest, using lots of small group discussion, not necessarily having to hear from everybody in the rooms also can help, looking for volunteers, asking for regions of the room to answer so that you don't just get the people in the front row. Like, I want to hear from this side. I want to hear from the back of the room, whatever it is. So there's lots of ways you can do it, but you do have to, there's a component of you have to let go of control, because you will not be able to control everything in a large classroom because there's too many of them and there's only one of you, and not dying is important. So there's a little bit of sort of letting go of the control of all of the things, letting them work with each other. Those would be the things I would suggest quickly. Yeah.
Add a shout out to the small breakout from the accessibility and inclusivity table over here.
Yeah.
That really increases the accessibility and the inclusivity in the classroom too, if they're in smaller groups.
So that actually, like, by the end of the session, we've already sort of said that we are hoping that you're going to come away with one idea, like at least one idea, hopefully more, but at least one idea, or, even some validation that the challenges, maybe we won't solve all your problems, but you'll feel better about the fact that these problems are real, but they are solvable. It's just that sometimes you have to think outside the box. So we actually have another discussion that we're going to have, and we were considering using breakout groups for this, but maybe we'll just do it as a conversation, because I also think we're already horrendously behind, because that's how we roll in these things. So maybe we'll just sort it out there. So everybody here has experience teaching, and everybody, based on what I've heard, and everybody has a number. Most people have experienced that number already. So we have a lot of experience in the room. So the one thing I want to know, the biggest thing we want to know are the challenges. What's the issue with large classes that feels overwhelming and stressful? But also, if you've taught these large classes, what's a joy, right? There's lots of fun to be had in I love large classes. They're a lot of work, but I love them because there's stuff there that I cannot get in the same way from small classes. So what are the genuine joys of it? And the third question, I think we've already brought up. So if you've got more you want to say on that, that's great. But we don't have to hear from everybody. I'd love for you, both in person and online people, to just, maybe we'll raise hands, and we'll give some space for both in person and online people to say stuff. I'll give you a second to think about it, and hope we can just throw stuff out.
So it's reflection for 1 or 2 minutes, just on the first part, and then we'll have a large group discussion for the second part.
Yeah, let's do 1 minute for reflection.
1 minute?
Yeah. In the interest of time.
That is 11:06.
I'm gonna do what I do in my large classes and put my timer on for 1 minute.
All right.
Silence is always very stressful in classrooms. 10 more seconds. Okay, that is a minute. So is there anybody that would like to start with any? Let's start with the joys, because I am a positive person and always like to start there. What kind of joy is there to be found in a large class? Riley, let us know if there's hands up online. Rob, unmuted. Go for it, Rob.
Just often a larger group of students that are willing to participate. So there's just a bigger array of students that might be willing to participate more.
Yeah, chances of the awkward silence extending for too long is actually lower in a larger class because there's more people you can shame into answering. I say that lovingly. Yeah, Electra?
Yeah, I feel like if you structure the classroom well and the activities well, it removes some of that pressure of responsibility that you are in the spotlight and you have to attend to all of those people because yeah, if you have your group set up just fine, you should have more time just wandering and collecting that information.
That's definitely one thing I find. Yes, you have to let go of control, but you can let go of control. I don't have to control every minute and know exactly what's going to happen in every minute of my class because I know I'm going to spend 5 minutes on this group work and that's sort of space for them to figure stuff out. And so that can be somewhat freeing as well. Yeah.
One of the key, and this is partly disciplinary specific, one of the big differences I have between my smaller classes, which are typically upper level, is just the diversity in the classroom. So geography is like statistically still very, very, very white.
Yeah.
And so I get a much bigger diversity and appreciate they have to share.
Lots of diversity. You can get more diversity in larger classes for sure. Other joys that you want to bring forward in person or online?
I think like energy is, I remember someone, we did the ISW last week and someone was comparing like standing in front of a large class to, I think it was a comedian they said.
I do stand-up comedy.
Yeah, and so when the energy is right, and you kind of really connect, the feedback you get is wonderful. So
performative aspect.
Yeah, there's magic in that space that you can't get in the same way in a small class. There's energy. I play a game of Jeopardy in my first year class, like somewhere around late September, where they're starting to realize that university is no fun game. And so we play games to sort of revive them. And there is nothing like the moment where the first group answers incorrectly and you say, I'm sorry, that was not in the form of a question. Even though it's the correct answer, and the room erupts. And if you're in the comm and 400 people, like, I'm pretty sure they can hear you hear us over at Nechako, because it like explodes. And that's not, you cannot replicate that in a class of 25. Like, it's really cool. So there's an energy to be had. I totally agree with the stand-up comedy analogy. It feels very much like performance art. If I knew what that felt like, I guess. But yeah, there's energy there that can't be replicated, and it is absolutely joyful for sure. Other thoughts? Look, I saw you put your camera on. Does that mean you want to say something?
I was just going to add that I find in my first year lecture, I'm often asking students to kind of brainstorm ideas or instances of electromagnetism in everyday life. And I get much better answers with larger classes. I tend to get a lot more out of box answers, which is a lot of fun for the class.
Yeah.
And I would echo what you said about the energy. If I do demos at the front of the class, when you hear like gasps from students, if you hear it from 200 students, it's a lot more it's a lot more exciting than when you hear it from 10 or 15.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with all of that for sure. Anything? Okay. So maybe if we're ready, I don't want to stop the joy thing because I think the joy is really important. But what are the challenges? So there's good to be had in this space, but it's also true that there's challenges.
At the start of lecture, I'd mentioned something about that, and my right away ahead. So I teach 300 students in the summer term one. So 300 students for 6 weeks and 6 TAs. And every year I go into it forgetting about the exponential increase in emails. I think I get more emails in that 6 weeks than I do in the whole year, even though I teach large classes other times.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Because I do online, I go to 150 per class, whereas usually it's about 100 per class, and even the difference between 100 and 150 in terms of email.
Yeah.
So that's
there's a load involved, and it does change, and it changes between 200 and 300. The question you had, what's the difference? One of the biggest differences as you go up in numbers, even if your prep doesn't change, like the email load will change, and that's not trivial. There's ways to manage that, but it still does. It still happens. Yeah. Other challenges? Look, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I would say I think the biggest challenge is maintaining the academic integrity of exams in large rooms.
Yeah.
Especially as we pack students in like shoulder to shoulder. I find in my 200-person classroom, if I do customized cover pages for each student, it takes me almost 20 minutes to set up. And then just invigilating, having TAs monitoring students, it's a very stressful and challenging situation.
Yes, I don't have an answer to that. I would love to know how to make that less stressful too, because it is very, very stressful. Trying to manage all that. Again, there's ways, none of them are perfect. All of them feel clunky. And at some point you kind of have to just let go of some of it and just accept that that's probably happening in your classroom despite your best efforts. Which I don't love that part, but sometimes like you can't fix everything and you can drive yourself crazy trying to. Yeah, so. Other thoughts, challenges in person? Steve?
Sort of building on both of those, I think that it's interesting that your first guess about what's harder about a larger class is how do I maintain engagement in that class? How do I do as good a job teaching to that larger room as I know I should when I can't see what the people in the back or whether they're getting it or not, or I can't individualize. But we're talking about logistics.
Yeah.
We weren't. These comments weren't really about the actual pedagogy of the class, just about
logistics,
the prep time. And some of it, I think, is, smaller classes are more upper level courses, and your upper level courses are populated by students who know how to be students.
Yeah.
So if you come in and wing something and suddenly pivot, and we're going to change the date on the it's easier to manage that in a smaller room, in part because the students can pivot with you that much more quickly. Whereas a room with 17-year-olds, you got to tell them something 9 times, and there will still be 10 people who didn't hear it.
At least 10 people.
And that what I find is putting aside the actual course content,
Mhm.
the amount of time spent preparing to teach a 90-minute class to 300 people can be 90 minutes.
Yeah,
And that's just logistical concerns.
yeah,
To double check that every message is the same as every other message.
Yeah.
To double check that I haven't forgotten this one thing or been
Yeah.
close to this one place. To double check that I'm on the same page as the other instructor.
yeah,
That we know what's on the quiz and that number is correct. It's like, it's all of
Yeah.
that background stuff, which isn't really teaching.
no,
And yeah, running the exam, we run 2-stage exams in first year chemistry. My battle plan to walk into that room, and manage a 2-stage exam for 300 people, it's like storming the beaches at Normandy.
yeah,
Because I can't screw it up.
yeah,
And I've got a very limited window of time to not screw it up. And so I am very paranoid and very stressed
yeah,
that I am well prepared to make sure that nothing goes off the rails.
Yeah.
Something goes off the rails with 20 people, you can course correct instantly. Something
Yeah.
goes off the rails with 300 people, you're just dead.
yeah, in the water. Absolutely. That Jeopardy game that I play with 300 to 400 people, there's a whole system to set that up, because you got to get them into groups, and you got to they got to find each other in a room of 400 and all this stuff. If I were to do a class of 24, I'd be like, you're a group, you're a group, you're a group, you're a group. That's it. And it would be super easy and I wouldn't have to worry about it. But yeah, there's certainly the logistics of managing that number. And you're right. A lot of this discussion is about how do I logistically manage this? And again, there's lots of tools. We're going to talk about tech. That Ross is our tech specialist at the CTL. So there are tools to help with that. And I would argue that we all lean into the tools. Those of us who do that. It's also true that large classes align with lower level, and small classes often align with upper level. So there's conflation between how do I help a 17-year-old learn how to be a student with this large class problem, because I'm now trying to explain to 300 students or 90 students or whatever your number is, how to be a student. And when people are learning how to do stuff, you do have to tell them a number of times, right? There's a lot of, and I hate this analogy, but I don't know another one. There's a lot of parenting in the lower levels. And as a non-parent, that's not really something I planned on doing. But it's also true, like half of my learning outcomes, sort of the hidden agenda of my course, is to teach them how to be university students. And that means I'm going to have to repeat things, and I'm going to have to tell them, but I have to get everything right in order to be able to do that. So there's a lot of pressure. There feels like there's a lot of pressure on me to get all that stuff right. Yeah.
So I totally agree with Stevie's point that it's largely logistics, but there are places where that logistics really overlaps with pedagogical choices. And that, like, I know for me,
preparation for the pedagogy to function.
right? And that's like where I'm at right now with a 50% cut in my TA support.
Yeah.
Am I now having to change my assessments? And that goes back to Loic's point about the academic integrity stuff, because every change I've made in regards to getting away from academic integrity concerns, now I'm suddenly having to just go right back to the stuff I was doing before.
Yeah.
Because of that. Not certainly, I know for me, some of the struggle that I'm facing right now.
Yeah.
Plus the added pressure of you want to walk in on day one with the plan.
Yeah.
And not have to change the plan.
Yeah.
If it were a 4th year course, you could walk in on the first day and have no idea what it was, and the students would help you figure it out if you want it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a very different
Yeah.
pressure on you to have everything locked down
Yeah.
on day one.
Okay, so in the interest of time, unless there's any last, I'm gonna do the last word to the online space. Anybody want to add a challenge that they either know is coming at them or are worried about?
Hey, Rob.
Oh, you're all good. Go ahead, Brendan.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think someone may have pointed this out. It's also in the exam situation, right? In-person exam situation. It is hard to control with a large class, and I have a limited number of TAs as well. It's just monitoring cheating is just very, very difficult in that.
Very difficult, yeah.
And it's a
I mean,
challenge.
it is, yeah, I agree. So a lot of the logistics are absolutely a challenge, and you have to think carefully about them, and that's true. And it's true that as your situation changes and as enrollments go up, you have to change the way you do things. Maybe you automate some stuff, maybe you do a couple fewer assessments. There's sort of ways that you can, and they don't always feel good in the end, but I also believe teaching through COVID taught me that just because we did it the way we've always done it doesn't mean it's good. And I like a lot of people did really innovative stuff in COVID that they never ever would have tried out of necessity. So I personally am very hopeful that when we get these challenges, what comes out of it, even though at first we're like, this is an outrage, how dare you? You're ruining everything. When we're forced to look into this space and figure it out, we actually come up with really amazing things. And so that gives me hope. Doesn't give me answers, but it certainly gives me hope that we can figure it out. The one thing that nobody's brought up in this part, but we talked about earlier, is engagement, right? How do I engage these classes that are bigger than I ever have when I can't see all the faces in the room because I'm old and they're young and my eyesight is not as good as Riley's. I can't see the back of the room. And depending on the room, the back of the room is really far away. And whether you have a long and skinny room or a short fat room, like all these things have an impact, right? So that actually is, we're mostly focused on that piece. I can't always, the logistics I'd love to have discussions about, but I'm going to pass it over to Ross because this is Ross's wheelhouse. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Robin. And it's been a really good discussion. I just wanted to actually kind of go back to the objective, which is actually a bit of a focus on community and building community in large classes. We've talked a lot about large classes and all the different aspects of them, including logistics, like from Stephen, and assessment and communication. And those are all important things. But we're going to put a bit of a bracket on it and talk about community. Interestingly enough, like when Robin and I were, developing this together, she suggested, like, Ross could bring in like a theory to tie this all together. And so I go back to my, I knew there was a theory about community building in learning contexts. Because I actually studied with the author of this particular model called the Community of Inquiry. Have any of you ever heard of Community of Inquiry? Yeah.
It's in my teaching portfolio.
So the original part was, the original, introduction of this was actually in 2000. And so Garrison Anderson Archer sought to see, well, what does learning, look like online, and what makes sense, and how can we know that learning existed, and that sort of thing. And it was well received then in that context, but then it's also been applied to the face-to-face as well, and like in person. So it's interesting that Robin says, hey, I recognize this, it's in my class. So this is actually a slide from Robin's class. And so it talks about a community of inquiry. And there's basically three presences: social presence, teaching presence, and cognitive presence. And all three are necessary for a deep and meaningful learning experience. That was the original, vortex was called deep and meaningful learning experience. But so social presence, just to go over it briefly, friends and classmates help with both content support, like study buddies, and also mental health and wellness. And also to be able to show up as your own person on either online or in person, and be comfortable and showing your true colors. That's actually part of social presence as well. So say if we had a large class community and there's cognitive presence, teaching presence, but no social presence, then would that actually work? Did it go fly?
Be harder.
Yeah. It's like, well, we don't care about the social stuff. We're just interested in, what you know, and my presence. So no, you're right, it wouldn't work. But likely, as well, if there's like a social presence and anyway, and no teaching presence, then it would just be a party. So that's not good either. Nothing wrong with party. So, and so in terms of cognitive presence, that's active and ongoing engagement with the course material. And that's kind of the crux of whether you learn anything, and that's actually where assessments fit in, and lots of other pedagogy and that sort of thing for whether it's the interaction between the content and the student. And then teaching presence, in my opinion, one of the very most important things as well. Professors are content experts that can highlight what to focus on and give you tips and tricks along the way. And, you know, so they're a part of the community, but there's also these other aspects as well, social presence and cognitive presence. So this actually does apply to any class, including large class sizes. So I encourage you to dig a bit more into it. I love having discussions about it. So, you know, just drop by the CTL and I'll buy you coffee as well.
Well, that's a promise.
Yeah. So, and then we're going into another brainstorming session, and let's see, what time are we at?
We're at 11. We're actually in really good shape. I thought we were worse than it's 11:25.
A little bit behind, but not bad.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, you're going to be facilitating that one, Robin.
Yeah, actually, what I wanted to say before we move on from the 3 circles, I show that to my students in the first day of it's in all my first day of class things that I call my classroom a community of learners. We're all here for a thing, right? It's not like high school when they're forced to go for whatever reason they made a choice to be here. They're here because they want to be, not because they have to be. And that to me makes all the difference, even when they're in required courses, right? They chose to take a degree. And so setting that tone right from the beginning that like you're part of this. This is not something that's happening to you. You are not a passive participant in this experience. Like there's nothing I can teach you that you don't actively learn. And so sort of setting that like here's the way this all fits together, and here's how we're gonna try and address it in the classroom in the spaces that I have is a really key component to how I deal with my classes, because I think they kind of need to know that, and that I am going to be calling on them. But I think the piece that's the hardest, and I've been thinking about our people that are teaching law, big classes first time that are also online. This point number 3, the social presence, is the part that is sort of the most daunting in the online space. How do I help them create opportunities to create social networks when everybody's, you know, when we're looking at the black screens of doom online and sort of, but there are ways, right? Breakout rooms work. They can be clunky, but they certainly work. But there's no reason you can't. One of the things I did in COVID is I gave people term projects and they were in groups for the whole term. And just being in these groups, even sort of creating them sort of separate from the classroom, created sort of a pre-built study group for them. And it gave them a few people they knew, and that things like that can help. Also things like polls and surveys and having people just throw stuff into the chat and create chaos in the chat. There's lots of things you can do to create that social presence, even online. It's a little bit easier to imagine in person because you can just like talk to your neighbor, say hello, let's talk about this chemistry problem, or, you know, I don't know how you teach all of your classes or what's involved in all of the topics, but there's certainly places where you can just sort of take the focus away from you and put it on them, and have them figure stuff out with each other. And even if you don't know about every piece of it, there's still lots of energy and activity that can come out of that. So activity has multiple purposes in that it helps with the social presence. It can help with the cognitive presence because they sort of learn that they can study from each other and they can learn from each other, and can also sort of take some of the load off of you as the teaching presence that now has to manage, you know, however many people that feels overwhelming to you. So that actually brings us to this. There is a lot of experience in this room with managing large classes, even with managing small classes. So again, we were going to do this as small group discussion, but since we're sort of trying to, I'm open to suggestion actually of how you'd like to do this. Would you like to have some time to discuss quietly, and we can put the online people, either we can shut off all the mics so you can talk to each other online, and then we can come back together? Would you just like to have it as an open discussion and we'll just see what comes out? Do you have an opinion, people that are here for this, who are the ones that need to get something out of this?
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah. What did you say?
I'm happy with open.
Happy with open? Okay, let's talk about it.
I will just say though, our friends online might be struggling a bit more with the open.
Yeah. Okay,
Friends online say open.
open. Everybody says open. All right.
Open is fine.
So yeah, great. Tell me about it. What are some of the things you want a minute to think? I'll give you a minute to think. We'll put the timer on for 1 minute again, and we'll give you some space to think about it. Like, what's your thing that you do? If you teach large classes, what's one thing you do that you think really works and really helps? If you heard something else from somebody else you want to try, anything like that. What's your like top tip? So I will put the timer on for 1 minute and then we will go from there.
I have a question in the chat to answer later as well regarding best practices.
Oh, yeah.
Could share Bowen's resource, feel like.
If you've got the link to it, you can put it in, so we certainly can talk about that.
But Ross, you gotta address that later. I have to run.
I don't have the link. So I think send a resource on email.
Thanks for monitoring the chat.
10 seconds. Okay, so that was a minute. So now that you've had a chance to think about it, hopefully, let's hear your one thing. And again, I'm going to start with online this time. I think I have every time, but we're going to keep doing that because that way I make sure that I remember. Kathy, you look like you turned your mic on. You're ready.
Yes, I have one thing I really, really enjoy doing, but I'm able to do it quite well because of the topic that I teach, which is human resource management, leadership, organizational behavior. So I love debates, and I guess it's just that people have different perspectives, so it does draw them into a conversation pretty quickly.
Okay, debates. Electric, do you want to write on the board? Sure. Yeah, you can sort of remember what we said. I don't know if anybody can see it online, but it'll help me remember what all the things that we said. Okay, yeah, that sounds great. Other ideas? Let's ask an in-person, this person's time. Do you have your hand up? Okay, go for it.
So I think maybe group projects.
Group projects.
And maybe also like, you have a question and just let them to discuss it.
Yeah, okay. So two ideas there. Group projects. For me, term-long group projects build community. I find the students that I put into groups for a term project do lots of other things related to the course together, and they end up being a little cohort of friends. So reasons for them to be forced to work together. This actually leads into the question that was online about how do you build groups. There is a lot of research out there on every side of how to build groups. Personally, for me, I let them build their own groups. And my reason is very, very selfish. I don't want it to be my fault if it doesn't work. Because up until a couple months ago, being pre-tenure, your student evaluations matter. Like, I don't want them blaming me. That's not pedagogical at all. That's survival. But I mean, I know lots of people, I know people that do it every different way. And there are benefits and drawbacks to each. I actually find letting them build their own groups seems to create the least amount of trouble. They're likely to pick friends. Not every group works every time. And you are going to be dealing with personalities and logistics, and somebody's dropped off the face of the earth, and what do we do? But that's what I do. So I think whatever you're comfortable with is probably what you should do. Yeah. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, actually, I agree with what you said, but usually I asked at the beginning, like, do you guys prefer to do your own groups, or I should randomize you? So this is the extra step.
Do you get a consistent response, or does it change every year?
Yeah, usually if they don't know each other, they would prefer to randomize. And
Yeah.
if they know each other, they worked together before, they know the groups. So
Yeah, usually I use a bit of a hybrid where I have a deadline. Like, if we are not, you need to tell me your groups by X date. And the date for me is always after the drop add date, because that way you know that your class is finalized. So that gives them about 2 weeks. And if you are not in a group by this date, I will randomly assign you. And so that's what works for me. So it's a little bit of a hybrid between the two.
You said there were two recommended
Group
suggestions.
projects and debates, and no, it was
Like questions in class, like discuss.
letting them discuss.
Like informal groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like think, pair, share type things, like little, just talk to your neighbor.
Yeah.
Activity in general. Those are actually really easy to incorporate, even if you've never done it before, because all you have to do, because often what we do is we ask the question and then we answer it in the class. And so you just add an extra step, ask the question, let them talk about it. You could use like a clicker or some sort of automated response system to collect answers if that's useful in this context. And then you answer the question. So you just kind of flip it around. Or sometimes what we do is we teach the thing, then we ask the question, then they answer it. So you just sort of flip it around and ask the question first. And so it's actually a really small way where you can create space for activity that doesn't change your class that much, but also sort of like they activate. If you tell them the question before you tell them the answer, they don't know. And they think about it more. And once they've thought about it, the best clicker questions for me are the ones they can't answer. Because and you're like, yeah, that's the wrong answer. You got to do it again. And every time they get it wrong, the room gets louder and louder and louder. And like, they'll stay after if it's at the end of class, they'll stay. Like they won't leave even though they have a class coming, because they want to know the answer now. So they're if they get stuff wrong, they're very engaged, I find. So that's one thing that yeah.
I had a question actually.
Sure.
Just around like forming groups. I'm just curious what, like practically, how does that work? Like when you say a student, do they do it online? Do they kind of go off and talk about it among themselves? Do they do it within the classroom? I'm curious what people have.
Okay.
There is actually a procedure in Canvas. You create blank groups, and then people can have a choice of either, you can do randomly, you can assign groups randomly, or you can have people sign up.
Yeah, I do that one.
So there is a functional part, but
I haven't tried the self-population.
Is your question more about what happens in classrooms, Adrian?
Yeah, just, how do you, when you say, especially when students kind of decide when you give them the space to do it themselves, do you give them time within the classroom to talk about it? Do they go off and email each other? Like
a little, for me, it's a little bit of both. Katie, do you want to?
Yeah, so for me, for more like the informal small classroom activity groups, I actually do use Canvas, and I set it up as a self-enroll groups. But it's geography, so I also give them a map of the classroom, and it's based on, okay, if you're sitting in this area, join group 3 and make sure. And so they add themselves and they do a group assignment, because I set all the in-class activities up as group assignments.
Yeah.
So there's that level of it. But if I'm doing for my classes with the term long group projects that have multiple submissions, I do actually a Canvas survey.
Yeah.
And I'll ask them, do you already have a group? Do you need me to put you in a group? Is there anyone you don't want to work with? And I get that basic information. That's for classes with 40 or less.
Yeah.
And that works really well. And I'll usually get about half of them already have a group. It's friends, they've been in classes together, and then half of them need to be put in a
Half of
group.
them is a bit of a fight. Yeah. Cool. I'm just gonna add before I go to you. I give them time, so they're gonna make their own groups, they do need time, and I have found that if you make the deadline before the drop add date, you will have a group that implodes, that everybody drops out. So that's why that drop deadline, if the drop add deadline is the 17th this year, so their groups need to be formed by the 19th, and then sort of it goes from. So I make sure my deadline is after that. I also do sometimes give them space in at least one class, sort of near. In week 2, right, sort of before the deadline's coming, I try to finish class 5 minutes early, and sort of here's your space. If you haven't got a group, come down, we can talk. I have them email me their groups, but I also have them create team names, because I feel like that builds a bit of a sense of community. I get a lot of cell biology puns. One year we had a hockey team fight. We had all kinds of we had a team that was called the Vancouver Canucks. We had a team that was called the Calgary Flames. We have a lot of jokes about sort of various structures in the cell because that's what I teach and they somehow enjoy that. I think we get a lot of AI generated names. That doesn't matter to me. It just creates a little bit, it's better than your team too. Sort of, you gotta call it something. So yeah. Kathy.
Thank you. This is sort of an idea, but also a question on maybe possibly on how to do it better. But what I do is for the first few classes, I do a lot of exercises that have groups of 3 and 4, and I tell them right from the beginning that they are going to have to choose a team. I follow what you say. I let them choose by the end of, let's say, week 2 or the end of week 3. So they do move around, and yeah, and I just let them know that they're going to have to form teams. So take this opportunity now to go around and meet each other. So that's what I use, but I'm really open. It seems to work.
Yeah,
nothing's perfect, but maybe there's some other ideas that could sort of support that thought, or more ideas.
Yeah, actually I do a bit of that too. I sort of actively try to give them space to meet each other in the first couple of weeks while I know they're forming groups. Yeah, are there ideas?
So
Go ahead.
I do the think, pair, share something, but I don't use a clicker. What I did, I bought some something they call white book. It's kind of a whiteboard,
virtual,
like virtual, but like a sheet.
Yeah,
very big.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I brought every time I brought the marker.
Like these things?
No, it's
a paper.
It's like a sheet.
Oh, like that.
The surface like a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Like
like
yeah, they're all poster board size.
Yeah.
Give them a Dollarama for like $2.
Oh, cool.
And they're poster board, they're the size of a piece of poster board, and they're foam core back with whiteboard.
Yeah, but anyway, so I gave a small group in the class a neighbor. I said that you can change each time, but it's just neighbor. And then I gave one pen, one marker for each group. I teach you kind of math, though neither the repetition. So I ask what's the next step we should do. So the student has an idea, talk.
Yeah.
And no idea, then just write. And if the writer had the idea, then transfer the marker to other people and say their idea. So that's the one way I do, and then make them a class
using a focal point like a whiteboard. Some of our classes do have these big whiteboards in them.
Yeah,
not all of them.
Yeah, mine is a bigger, and both side. One side has a gray.
Okay.
The other
Cool.
side is white.
Yeah,
that's what I'm using because the math, right?
Yeah.
I want them write down because math equation is not processed in your brain without writing. That's what I learned. And then what I do, when they have a test, after test marking is not finished. I call it the posterior correction process.
Yeah.
So I said I randomly make a group for them, and then they work together, they talk, and they have to correct what's wrong with their test. But I said random because I don't want them to feel awkward, but actually I sneakily make a high mark, low mark, and then media work together because they are able to work.
Never underestimate the importance of lying to your students now and again.
I semi-randomized would not be a lie in that case. Right?
Semi doing the heavy lifting.
I don't give them the answer key. I want them to find out answer key and do by themselves, and then each group have to come to see me in person, and in my whiteboard they have to orally tell me and write down why it's wrong. And what's the correct answer, and then each member in the group can help each other if they forgot in front of me, and then they can remind them and work together. Oh, something wrong, I gave them an answer directly in front of them. That's what I'm using, and it worked very well because those students, right after the first test, that they want to work together.
Yeah, cool.
And
Steve, I'm just going to hold you for a second. Kathy, are you are you good? Did you have more you wanted to add?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Those are really great
Oh,
ideas. Thanks.
the other way, I gave the posterior correction process mark, including the test.
Okay.
If the whole group that make me satisfied that they got a white mark for the.
Oh,
first
so
time.
there's an incentive and then they can change their marks.
Yeah,
That's
and then
cool.
they
Yeah.
work together very hard.
Okay. Steve.
We do a lot of guided inquiry in first year, so instead of me explaining the concept and telling them the concept, we create activities where they have a bunch of questions that scaffold them to that concept discovery themselves. And the way we used to run that was talk to your neighbors about question 1 for a couple of minutes, and then we'd all put in our clicker answer for question 1, and then talk to your neighbors for question 2 for a couple of minutes, and then we'd all put in our answers for question 2, and we'd follow along in that path. The level up breakthrough epiphany that we had was that instead of doing it one question at a time, we chunk the activity into these sort of sections where there's the first concept and then the second concept and then we wrap it up. And you just let them do questions 1 to 7 for an extended period. Discuss questions 1 to 7. I'll give you 12 minutes and then we're going to come back and we're going to get all the answers to all those questions. And that 12 minutes means that they're in a prolonged discussion for that whole time, and I can get the hell out from behind the podium at the front of the room because I'm not managing the clicker system anymore, and I get to wander around in the room, get to the back of the room, have discussions with people in the middle of their discussions. And it's absolutely transformative. Giving, not just giving them chances to speak to each other about the material, but allowing those periods of time to be more than 30 seconds in a think tank chair, to be 12 minutes, to be 15 minutes, to be 20 minutes. And then that frees me up to have other kinds of discussions within individual groups who are struggling with something as I'm wandering around. It's really, really good. And coming back to where that sense of community kicks in, it means they're coming to class knowing that they're not just going to see answers go by on the screen and go, oh, I didn't get that one. I don't know what's going on. They know that there's going to be a prolonged opportunity for them to discuss and commiserate with the other people around them.
Creating space for commiseration is there's sense of community and suffering, it turns out.
And we've done, I've been doing a lot of identity and belonging research and the impacts on inclusivity and all that other stuff. It's really, really big when you're providing space for them to talk to each other instead of just listening to you. That's identity, belonging. It makes a more inclusive space. It's vital. The other thing that happens unexpectedly is as I'm wandering around that space, people will grab me and ask me stuff that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Right? It's about the quiz. It's about the midterm. It's about the other thing. It's about something like, you should ask me that a week ago. You could have put up your hand in a room of 350 people. You didn't do that. You waited until it's a little bit more intimate and it's a little bit, and no one else can hear you. And I'm just wandering by, and then you button hook me and say, oh, now that you're here,
I
there's
need
a
to
lower
know.
barrier for me to ask you this question.
I need to know when the assignments due.
It's really
We'll
good.
get it from that one, and they're gonna be
It's
like,
really good.
hold on a sec, hey, everybody. Because-
Right. And if I hear that question 4 times, I know I screwed up and I have to make an announcement. Absolutely.
And I usually just like Canvas, but
Well, whatever.
We have about 10 minutes left. I want to give a little bit more space. I think we can have one more idea. Is there something we haven't hit on?
Can I share too?
Yeah.
I mean, the first one is very simplistic. I'm really a huge fan of name tags. And I make students bring them from day 1 to the last day of class. So then when they speak to their neighbors, they can see their name. And a way to level that up is to also kind of allow them, maybe on the other side, to just write not today, like just as a way to acknowledge that, you know, sometimes the win is that you showed up to class and you don't want to participate as well. And that, you know, needs to be said up well, like share your expectations and your philosophy with the students in participating and also acknowledging what's going on in their lives. But yeah, even though you as an instructor from the bottom of the class, you won't see the students in the last row, like their names, but as you circulate, you also learn them. As the, yeah.
Name tags, yeah.
Can we talk about this? Because there was some debate in the feedback about this, about the use of name tags. And I start off by saying, well, I never use them. And it's not that I don't think they have value. It's partly that I have never experienced well, as a student in a class period having one, and then in a large class having one, and it never crossed my mind really to use them. But I think it's also personal, having first name issues. I've never been bothered if people don't know my name, or everybody spells my name wrong, everyone says the wrong name. So I think it was one of the things that I was just desensitized, unfortunately, to it as a small child. Had to move schools at one point because of it. And so it like never crossed my mind. And then all these people who I really respect, who have a lot of experience,
I use them.
I use name.
I use them.
So I'm just curious about how does
Okay,
it
I can speak to
work
it.
out? Yeah,
I use the ones and then I think it really depends. I use the ones in the second class they bring, not everybody, third of course, and they don't take out, and it's what I can afford is just a paper. I try to use it because I took a business course back long way, but that's the business school. They have a really proper name tag there in front of the table. So when people talk about that, I was like, oh, that's good because I had the experience and I tried. But those seat fixed and the name always there and a nice name. And I think that worked very well in our business. But when I use my class and use the paper, it sounds like it didn't work. And then they lost it and they didn't want to take out. And
so my experience with it is I use them. I teach classes of up to 400 on this campus. They lose them, you're right, but actually that's not the point to me. The point is I care about their name. I care about who they are as a person, right? I care about them as individuals, even in a class of 300. They do lose them by the first week. You kind of have to remind them, you spend a little while, and that's fine. I don't actually mind if they kind of fall apart. It actually does help me learn a few more names. I learn more names than I would have if they didn't have them. If they don't have them, I don't learn a single name. If they have them, I learn a few names, right? I still don't learn 300 names. That's fine. And there's a disconnect between names and faces in large classes because you see all the faces all the time and you see the names on the class list and you never see the two together. So it breaches that divide a bit for me, and it makes it clear that it matters to me who they are as people, which is social presence and inclusivity and accessibility and all that kind of stuff. So it's sort of, it's less about whether I can do all that. I let them put their pronouns on there, and it's kind of up to them. And so for me, I find it useful, again, especially in first year. Some of these students in my first year classes are in classrooms that are bigger than their entire school in high school, right? By orders of magnitude, right? They come from small communities in the middle of nowhere, wherever that is. And they're like completely overwhelmed just by existing in this space. And so the fact that I care about their name matters to them, can make a huge difference. So that's why I use them. But I use them more, and I think they're more important in first year. In second year, since I've already had all these students in first year, they're like, oh God, the name tags again a little. So it sort of changes. In my fourth year class, which was a science communication class, they had to have them every week. We had guest lecturers, they had to have them so the guest lecturers knew where they were. Every class I used them differently. So yeah, somebody had their hand.
I just want to quickly say that, we have some examples in there that we use for our workshops, and we have people, we just had ISW, we have them, we provide stickers, or we have them, markers, draw something on there that for people to get to know what you like to do in your free time. So then maybe they're more likely to want to bring them. So, and then
we kind of need to stop because there's only 5 minutes left. Can I give one? I want to give one last space to attendee for like a last idea if we haven't hit it. Yeah, anybody want to add anything else that hasn't already? Sorry.
Yeah.
Somebody we haven't heard from yet.
Well, I heard last time.
Okay.
A lot of people have talked already.
Yeah, I don't know about it's harder for me to tell what the online space is doing. So if there's anybody online that wants to add something they haven't heard yet, I would love to hear it. Otherwise, I think we hit all this stuff. If you just go back to the slide before, I will quickly summarize that, and then you can talk about the tech tools. Ross, just go back one.
Yeah. I will.
Quickly. Like we hit on a lot of that stuff that's in that was in the slide before. A lot of use groups and group work. Sort of what Steve said about chunking stuff together. I use worksheets to frame group activity, in-class group activity a lot, where I ask them a bunch of questions. They might be doing a little bit of sort of more analytical style questions, and more reword questions. And so I give them some space to do that, working in groups, and then we come back together and we talk about it. Sometimes we're constructing word responses. Cell biology is a lot about explaining processes. So give them the problem and then they have to explain it. We sometimes construct good answers together, things like that, but they need space to do that. Any kind of activity in a classroom where they stop staring at you and they start talking to each other will help build community in the classroom. Because they start sort of learning who they are as people, and the focus changes. And so, like I say, it can be as simple as, instead of telling me in the answer and then giving them the question, to flip that around and ask them the question before you've taught the thing. Give them a minute to talk about it, and then you can dive right into the answer. Sometimes you can ask solicit responses. You can do it a little bit differently every time. And that can make a huge difference without having a huge impact on what you already teach. So
There's
that's all I have to
just
say.
one other comment from Kim, just about names. And, you know, she was saying that I think it's an extension of that idea for online.
Yeah.
Well, encourage them to put a Zoom name, a photo, if their screen is off.
Yeah, great idea. That's a great idea.
Again, adding that social presence.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to quickly, this is our last slide actually, before we wrap up. But just some ideas regarding technology that might help build community. And we've mentioned pretty much everything actually. So I'll just kind of go over a few things briefly, but not too many people mentioned discussion forums. And I think they're kind of, you know, the unused potential actually online. I think there's a great way of building community on Zoom discussion forums, if you have the right questions and if you have the right prompts. And I do have a resource that kind of addressed that, and they kind of made some sort of change between semesters and made a big impact. So I encourage you to consider bringing that back. I know it goes old school, goes back to 2000 actually, when, you know, the community of inquiry was first introduced. So, and that was actually their main data, by the way, it was from the discussion forum. Anyway, so I don't want to forget about that one. Interactive technology in the classrooms, which is Clicker, that was already mentioned actually, just to get some activity going, some interactivity. Room shrinking technology, such as Air Media. And so in this case, it's in every room where, you know, a person in the back could actually project to the front. So that could be an interesting way of shrinking. You know, let's say it's a group share out or something like that. Hey, you in the back, you know, go to this and put in this particular code on the screen, and let's see what we got. So that sort of thing. And then also groups as well. We mentioned groups, and that is technology related in that you can create them in Canvas, but there's also there was a question in the chat about how to create groups and that sort of thing. And there's some innovative technology, local actually, called Teamable Analytics. So,
oh yeah, Teamable? That's Bowen's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll actually send the link out, but it allows kind of creativity to be created, and it really kind of takes the guesswork out of it, or the randomness out of it. So it's hard to describe, but it's worthwhile to look into. So I'll include that link as well. And by the way, I will include, actually Electra, she was writing things down or they were writing things down. And I will capture that and also send that out to folks that registered and also folks that were online and in person. So.
Okay. Yep.
I guess we'll send the recording and the handout.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And there are, check out the handout, it's really useful. And also, if you do want to pick one up and you're in the room, then that's great. Anyone's has any final thoughts before we check?
I just want to flip it, when you get this resource, the stuff that we refer to, we added links to those resources at the end. They are all much bigger than the little bits and pieces that we used for this. One of them was about assessments in large classrooms, which came up. So if you just switch to that references quickly, some of them, there was a couple of research papers. The paper about building community that Ross talked about in the 3 article framework is there. So there are absolutely, there is a ton of literature out there. Everybody worries about this at every institution probably across the world. There is so much work out there and so many resources, and pretty much every teaching and learning center across Canada and the US, at least, if not across the world, has sort of resources for this. So there's lots of space. There's also lots of expertise, right? Everybody here has taught a large class or is about to teach a large class. So you probably know lots of people. So I hope we achieved our goal and that you have some new ideas to try, at least one new thing, or at least you have slightly lowered anxiety about the onslaught that is about to arrive. So yeah, thanks. Yeah,
I'll just do a plug that at the CTL, obviously, like we're here to support you like individually, but also we have communities of practice that cover some of these conversations in more detail, and there is a community of practice where you can observe each other. So we can help you also with that structure, so you can see how other people teach large classes.
And I'll just add that we also have a community of practice for contract faculty. So any lecturers who are in our company here, or sessionals, if you know sessionals, we'd be happy to have you at that community practice as well.
Any last thoughts online?
And I'll just kind of say that you're not alone as you enter in this particular semester, every semester actually. So, and that's where the CTL comes in.
Okay.
So we're here to help.
Yes, on that note, thanks everybody for coming. And I hope you got something useful out of it. I think we'll end now since it's 12:02. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
See you. We have one more session.